Tragic, very tragic. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. He was a great man. I happen to have known him. He was a great man. He was a mentor to many other rabbis, including myself. Yeah. Yeah.
And he does the daily Tanya too, which I listen to that.
Correct. And he does the daily Chumash too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's extremely popular. He may be the biggest Torah teacher in the world today. You know that? and it's really a big lesson. And he's not living.
Yeah.
He's the biggest Torah teacher in the world, and he's not living. Isn't that shocking?
I was shocked. I thought he was giving the lectures as we went along.
Yeah, it shows you what a legacy we can make.
Oh yeah.
And what potential influence we all carry today, where space is no longer a limitation, right? You're not limited by space. You can be sitting in one place and look, and someone in Boca can be having a conversation with you face to face. Pretty amazing. Yeah. All right, so let's begin. Just a moment here. There we go. Okay. Very good. All right. Good evening, everyone. I love the Torah portions that we're reading now because they have some very inspiring verses. If you read them, the way God speaks about the Jewish people, and the way Moses speaks about the Jewish people and how God feels about the Jewish people, and the way Moses speaks about the presence of God in our lives is really, really inspiring to me. I'm sure it's inspiring to all of us. So I want to share with you one of my most favorite stories, which some of you may remember because I know I've shared this story in the past a number of times, and some of you may remember. There was a rabbi. His name was Rabbi Zev Siegel. He was an Orthodox rabbi, dynamic individual, and he had a relationship with the Rebbe. He was not a Chabad rabbi, but he had a relationship with the Rebbe and would meet with the Rebbe from time to time. And having a relationship with the Rebbe also came with responsibility. Everything is responsibility. So it always came with the responsibility because the Rebbe expected of everyone, just like God expects of every one of us, because that's why God put us here. And the Rebbe, as a man of God, he saw it as his mission to help everyone actualize their divine mission, to help us discover what that is and to live up to it. So this Rabbi Zev Siegel was once he was meeting the Rebbe, and he was telling the Rebbe about his upcoming travels. He was going to be traveling to different countries, and the Rebbe asked him to do something on his behalf in his travels. And what the Rebbe asked him to do was not an easy thing to do. It was an undertaking and a commitment and a hassle, and it was hard. It was actually hard to get it done. But when the Rebbe, someone of such stature, asks you to do something, you take it seriously, and he got it done. But when he came back and he had the next meeting with the Rebbe, he told the Rebbe, "I want you to know that what you asked me to do was not easy at all. It was very difficult." So the Rebbe smiled, and the Rebbe said these words, which I just absolutely love. And I'm going to tell it to you in Yiddish, and then I'll translate into English. He said, "Sind wenn hast du a Kontrakt mit den Ebersten zu haben a gringen Leben?" Since when do you have a contract with Almighty God to have an easy life? That's what he told him. He was saying it was so hard, it was so difficult. So he wanted the Rebbe to know the effort he put into it. And he said, "What, you thought it was going to be easy? Since when do you have a contract with God for that life is going to be easy?" You can read this from many different teachers of different backgrounds. At some point in life, we have a choice to make. And the choice to make is to protest the fact that our life is difficult, thinking that we are the victim of this thing called life and everyone else's life is easy, or coming to terms with the fact that life, the very experience of life in this world, as it is now, until Mashiach comes, is difficult. And it's difficult in its very nature. The very nature of the fact that God takes a divine soul and sticks it into a physical body, that itself is a clash. It's a complete clash. That's the soul and the body don't make for good bedfellows. And that creates a lot of struggle. And that is our life. And we are meant to struggle because this is actually our purpose. Our very purpose in this world is to be a struggler. Someone who's not struggling gave up. They threw in the towel. They're not struggling. They're just, I can't handle this. So they sell out. Well, how do you sell out? Well, it's not that hard to sell out. I'm not guiding you in this direction, but selling out's quite easy. We do it very often, but hopefully not consistently. But we do it when we, and our weakness is when we let our soul be sold out to our body. That's what a sellout is. We take the easier path. We throw in forget the values, forget what we know is true. Just going to do what's easy, what's comfortable, what is convenient, what is satisfying, what is pleasurable, etc. You know, it's like, as we know that we can always do what's comfortable, but we do discover, everyone discovers that as you do more and more of what is comfortable, you will discover your life becoming more uncomfortable. That is the inherent nature of the world, of the way God made the world. And that someone who continuously makes themselves uncomfortable in the right direction will begin to find a very deep level of comfort through the discomfort. And that is because this world is specifically, our reality is specifically designed for us to struggle. Now that sounds like a very dismal and disappointing and negative and pessimistic perspective. To say that our entire purpose in this world is to struggle. What? That's your message? This is actually exactly the point that I'm trying to make. And that is that we can grade our children's papers on curves, and we can make sure never to use red ink to let them know that they lost 5 points because of the way they answered this question. And we can tell our children, the child who strikes out 98% of the time when he's up at bat, you're one of the best baseball players I ever knew. I think you're going to make it to the major leagues, so that we don't hurt his self-esteem. And we can build up walls of denial as much as we want. But when we build up walls of denial, we are creating very, very deep pain. If not today, it's going to be tomorrow, because comfort will lead to discomfort. So it is actually important for us to acknowledge how God designed things and as they are, and not to sugarcoat it, but to face it, to know it, and then, most importantly, to inspire the awareness that even though life is a struggle, I am greater than the struggle, that I am more powerful than the struggle, that I can overcome these struggles. Otherwise, why would God even put them in front of me? Just to see me in struggle? No, God doesn't get satisfaction out of seeing us struggle. He gets satisfaction out of seeing us overcome a struggle. And he gives us struggles that we can overcome. And sometimes it's really hard to imagine that we can overcome certain struggles. But if we remember that we can, we do, and we turn around and say, wow, because there was a point when I never believed I'd be able to. This is actually One of the fundamental messages that the Alter Rebbe teaches us in the book of Tanya. He says that you have people who are tzaddikim. They're given a soul which is very vibrant. It has a high level of divine consciousness. Okay, now every divine soul if it's by its very nature, it's a divine soul, it's conscious of the divine. However, there is conscious and there is the subconscious. So very often, once the divine soul comes into a body, it is in touch with the divine in a subconscious way, but not in a conscious way. Meaning that I, as an entire human being, has a body and a soul. My divine soul doesn't make me fully aware in a very conscious way of the divine. Tzaddikim, righteous people who are gifted with a very powerful soul, which they then need to actually actualize and express, but they are in a much higher level of divine consciousness. And then you have Rishaim, which is a category which is what we're all in, and that is individuals where our body is very prominent, and we are in touch with our divine soul to some extent, and we try and awaken that to a higher level of consciousness, to the point that we actually get our body entirely in control, which is what we call a Beinani. But the Alter Rebbe tells us our entire mission is to fight in our entire life, to struggle our entire life. That's what the whole book essentially, the whole first part of Tanya essentially comes to tell us, amongst many other things, that we will be a struggler our entire life. Until we're willing to embrace that, we will not be a very successful struggler. You know, we know when a person has a problem, has an issue, and we're all full of many issues, hopefully none too destructive, but when we have an issue, a person can never overcome an issue until they acknowledge the issue. Because until you acknowledge the issue, you're either in denial of it or you've submitted yourself to it. But once you acknowledge that I have this issue, and you're clear about it, and you accept that, it's not a judgment, a negative judgment. It doesn't make you a bad person, because we're all born with these issues. God gives all of us a different selection of issues, right? As the daily Rambam of the last couple of days actually speaks about, different characters of people. Some people are predisposed to be angry, to get angry. It doesn't mean they will get angry. We can control it. But some people are predisposed to react to things through anger, simply by their very nature, not even nurture, just by nature. Nurture can exacerbate it. But some people are predisposed to be generous. Some people are predisposed to be spendthrifts. God designs us all, every single one of us, where we're predisposed to do unhealthy things. But that doesn't define us. That only sets out what our particular challenge is. When we can acknowledge that honestly, not judgmentally, where we're putting ourselves down, not feeling guilty about it, but just acknowledging, yes, this is my challenge, or this is one of my challenges. Then we're willing to look at it honestly and somewhat objectively, and we can attack it. We can take it on. We can fight it, and we can get better. We can struggle with it and get over it. And the Alter Rebbe, it's very important to the Alter Rebbe that we not sugarcoat this, but we be clear of it. Because if we're not clear of it, we won't be able to take it on and to actually overcome the struggle. So the Alter Rebbe tells us, yes, we have these struggles. You're going to struggle your whole life. And then he tells us how powerful we are, what a divine soul is, how we have infinite ability. We have God on our side. And that's why the Jewish people are truly a miraculous people. So we struggle with purpose, we struggle with confidence, we struggle with assurance. In this week's Torah portion of Akev, Moshe is telling the Jewish people that you're about to go into the land of Israel to conquer it. Moshe is not going to be leading them, Joshua will. But he tells them something that's quite shocking. We know that the Jews were supposed to conquer the land of Israel 40 years ago. 40 years ago, they were supposed to conquer the land of Israel. What happened? They sent spies into the land. The spies come back, and the spies say, "Oh my goodness, you can't imagine what we saw. We saw fortified cities. We saw giants. This is a strong country. How are we going? We're not going to be able to conquer this." So what happened? God says, "You say you're not going to be able to conquer it. You won't conquer it. Their next generation will. 40 years. We'll wait for all of you to die out. All of you from the ages of 20 to 60 are going to die out. And then the next generation. Well, now it's the next generation. You know what Moshe tells the Jewish people? To encourage them. He says, Shamayi Israel, hear O Israel. This is a different Shamayi Israel than the one we say every day. Shamayi Israel, hear O Israel. Ata over Hayomas Hayardim. You will cross over the Jordan today. Lavo, he didn't mean literally that day. Lavo l'reshus goyim gedol atzum mimeka, to go and to possess nations who are bigger and mightier than you. Arim gedol sefasurus b'shamayim, great cities fortified up to heaven. Moshe is telling them everything the spies said. It's crazy. The spies came back and said, we can't conquer the land because of all of these fears. And Moshe says, you're going to go conquer the land. And let me tell you about the land you're going to conquer. And he steps right into all of the things that scared the daylights out of the Jews 40 years ago. And he continues, Am Gadol v'Ram b'nei Anakim, a towering nation, the children of giants, because they had giants living there, who you know and who you heard, who you've heard said about them, who can stand against the children of the giants? And you've heard from people, it's impossible to conquer these people. And then he says, V'yadaita hayom, you should know today, ki Hashem lekechu over lefanecha, that God, your God, is going to go before you. Eish ochlahu, as a consuming fire. He's going to destroy them. He's going to subdue them. You're going to drive them out and destroy them quickly as the Lord spoke to you. Moshe does not sugarcoat for one moment what the Jewish people are going to experience. Why not? Because he knows the Jews are going to go into the land of Israel and they're suddenly going to find a whole different situation than what he told them, and they're going to run for their lives. Denial doesn't serve anybody. Know what you're facing and know that God's on your side. Know what you're facing. Approach it with truth. That means that you're approaching it with a true approach of what you are supposed, the way God would tell you to approach this situation. And know that God's on your side. Know that it's real and you are greater than it. That's what Moshe demonstrates to us. We don't need to sell ourselves any stories. We need to look at everything straight in the eye and say, I know you, and I know how powerful you are. You know that desire that we all have within us for something which is really unhealthy, whatever that may be, right? We look at it and say, I know you. We hung out for many hours together. We spent a lot of time together. Too much time. I know you and I know where you're taking me. I know where you want to take me. And guess what? I have God on my side and I will not let this happen today. Menachem Begin was a very, very powerful Jew. If you ever heard his speeches, it would be worthwhile to go onto YouTube and listen to one of Menachem Begin's speeches with subtitles. He's phenomenal. One of his passionate speeches. He gave really inspiring, passionate speeches, just tremendous. I recently bumped into a video of him speaking about there must have been a German foreign minister or someone that told Israel what they should do. I forgot what it was about. Menachem Begin was the prime minister at the time. He was speaking in the Knesset about this. Oh my goodness. It was just so beautiful to hear the pride of a Jew. the way he was speaking. He said, now he lived through the Holocaust, Menachem Begin. He lived a life. He was part of the, I'm going to get the, I don't know if it was the Alechi or the Stern Gang. He was a part of the ones who basically got the British to leave Israel prior to 1948. He was the one who never ascended to power until I think it was 1980 or somewhere around there, even though he was involved from 1945. He was involved in everything going on in Israel. Ben Gurion almost had him killed. He was a very fierce personality, very powerful person. And he was yelling in this speech that I just watched. He was saying, this German chancellor thinks he's going to come and tell me what I should do. After what they did to the Jewish people, they think we're coming to them to find out what we should do. And he went on and on and on. It was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal. So Menachem Begin got onto the radio in 1948, May 14th, I think it was, right literally on the eve prior to the Independence War, right after the UN announced the acceptance of Israel as a state. And they knew a major war was going to break out. And if you read about that time, or if you watched any videos, I mean, the Jewish people, we were such an underdog. It's almost unfathomable to think that a group of people would actually fight for the land under the conditions that they were living in, and without the resource, they had no resources to fight a war. And they were surrounded by all of these Arab nations who were ready to decimate them. He got on the radio and he said, we shall go our way into battle. And we shall be accompanied by the spirit of millions of martyrs, our ancestors, tortured and burned for their faith, our murdered fathers and butchered mothers, our murdered brothers and strangled children. And he was talking about his family. He wasn't talking about something that happened 1,000 years ago. He was talking about what he lived through just a few years prior. And in this battle, he said, we shall break the enemy and bring salvation to our people. Tried in the furnace of persecution, thirsting only for freedom, for righteousness, and for justice. That's what he said. He said it because he knew that we are greater than any opposition. Even in opposition, we're all numbers, and all accounts will say that it's not possible to actually overcome. And I will tell you that those numbers and those statistics are right. They are right. In a world of nature, they are right. But the Jewish people are a people of God. We're not a people of nature. And that's the reason why we can look at things exactly as they are, realistic, see it exactly the way it is, and then say, if God tells me that he expects more from me, then I know that I am greater than this. And this is the reason why the Jewish people are here today. This is the reason. Because Jews in every generation remember, I am greater than this. And so, I leave you with this. What in your life is God calling out to you to do that you are resisting? What is God calling out in my life to do that I am resisting? And am I ready to look it in the eye and say, I am greater than this because God put me on this mission? And I leave you with that as food for thought. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And you are officially unmuted.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And please implement the inspiration. Was that Anita?
Yes, it
welcome,
was.
Anita. Great to see you as always.
Are we still saying Psalm 47 for the person you talked about last week?
Yes, we are saying Psalm 47, and I will tell you, I won't tell you everything, but I'm just going to tell you this.